While our primary goal with the Hidden Critique is to offer guidance on navigating grad school in the art industry and creating a space where emerging artists can discuss their work, we also aim to hear insights from those who work on the business side of the art industry.
In this episode, we'll be talking with art collector Albert Whitley.
This is the Hidden Critique, where we discuss art, race, and higher education at the intersection of MFA. I'm Marlon Tobias, pronouns he, him.
And I'm Krystle and Lemonias, pronouns she, her.
Welcome to our show.
Albert Whitley, residing in Brooklyn, New York, is a design visionary and the CEO of Strategy Craft Design Agency, bringing over 2 decades of experience in craft, innovative design, products, and services. With a unique blend of strategic business acumen and creative prowess, Albert has consistently transformed complex business challenges into memorable digital solutions that drive performance, growth, and loyalty. His impressive portfolio includes collaborations with world-renowned brands such as AIG, Avon, BMW, BNY Mellon, Coca-Cola, MetLife, and Volvo, cementing his reputation as a trailblazer. Albert's expertise extends beyond the boardroom, as he is a sought-after thought leader and public speaker. He has appeared at prestigious events. His insights on design, innovation, and corporate culture continues to inspire and shape the future of UX design. Today, he's a thriving art collector. He has acquired works focused on the diaspora, featuring works by Genesis Tarmain, Megan Lewis, Wole Lagunji, Candy G. Lopez, Alan Ane, Jeffrey Mello, Jessica Alzaraki, and Delvin Logo.
All right, Albert, welcome so much to the show.
Hey, thank you. Thanks for having me. It's nice to meet you both, Marlon and Krystle.
I'm so happy that you're here, Albert.
Yeah, definitely excited to really talk on someone who's on the other side of the art industry. But before we get into the nitty gritty, because mental health is important when living the artist entrepreneurial lifestyle, Albert, how's your heart?
My heart is doing well today. I think it's probably beating extremely fast right now. It's just been a busy day for Friday.
Definitely, definitely, and I can definitely agree with we're having a busy day on our end too, so we can definitely relate. But Chris, how was your heart?
I'm feeling inspired. My heart is inspired by great conversations that we have had and is going to have right now, and just warm with the potential of what life can bring. How about you, Marlon?
My heart is feeling optimistic and very hopeful. As we are really getting into the second season, a lot of great things are unfolding that I'm really excited to share as the season goes on. So, with those things that are in store for us, I'm really optimistic with where we're going.
Wonderful.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and get started. So Albert,
Okay.
can you just tell us a little bit about like your formal education and how you developed professionally?
Okay. Yeah. So as far as education goes, I went to an HBCU in Norfolk, Virginia, and
HBCUs, woo! I'm
yes,
also a
yes.
graduate from HBCU, so I love it.
I love it. Big ups. I'm so happy to hear that. So we have to, definitely support our institutions. Yeah. So for me, I remember when it was time for me to, go to college, that my father, said to me, we're going to fund you here. We're not going to send you to any other fancy school. We're gonna keep it all simple, keep it here locally, so that but you can still get a great education no matter where you go. And so for me, I knew I always wanted to go into the art world. I just wasn't sure how I was actually going to get there. Because for me, I think about moments with my parents when I would say, I want to go to school. I want to be a graphic designer. And then my dad said, well, a graphic designer is also a business person. I'm like, no, they're not. They just create art, because
Mm.
I just remember just like creating flyers and things of that nature. When I was in high school, also had an entrepreneurial mindset. I was the guy you would come to get photos done. I would always be the one that would create those flyers for you at parties. I would charge you $5, and I'll go into the teachers' lounge and just steal codes and just start printing out all these flyers and everything. And then when I had my business, it was called Portrait Express, and that's where I started learning a little bit more around the world of photography. and then how to pose models, lighting, things of that nature. On the business side, and then on the artistic side was also, it was also through high school. But getting back to the HBCU, I remember my first day, going to art school. Didn't realize all the foundational courses that I would have to take. So it was just eye opening for me, right? Just learning like the foundations around color theory, topography. I mean, I was a terrible illustrator at the time. I remember our very first exam was to draw a pile of trash that was on the table in the classroom. The professor says, "When you're done, put your drawings over here, and then I'll see you next week." But then he says, "You're not going to get graded on this until at the end of the course." And I just remember
Mm.
at the end of that semester actually seeing how I improved as an artist, because I always thought that I couldn't draw. And I actually learned more around foundations and principles of drawing, sort of relaxing the mind, being much more open, drawing what you see, training your hands as if you were on a bike, for the first time, learning how to ride a bike with training wheels. And then next thing you know, you're riding a 10-speed bike and you're just being really proficient. So those years were really important to me. And then because I was just so passionate about design and art, I was also one of those students who went out and sought out more information. So I also went to other institutions, competing institutions. Even in Atlanta, I continued my education in Atlanta too as well, going to various finishing schools, just looking at other student portfolios to kind of get a sense of what my competition is going to look like and how can I grow as a designer, too as well. So just having strong bonds and relationships with my classmates and things of that nature just really helped me really see myself as a designer and being a part of a creative community as a whole. So I'm just really thankful for like my instructors who I've developed relationship with. I even think about one instructor. She was my topography instructor, one
Mhm.
of the hardest instructors I ever had. She always bring out the cute gun, and you never wanted to see her bring out the cute gun. And because when she said it was cute, that was not a compliment. But later, when she kept saying, "Albert, that's cute," and then after a while, I realized I wasn't getting any more of the cute references. And it's just like that's a very strong piece of work. I really like the concept. So I'm now really starting to hone in my muscle as a designer to sort of think creatively, coming up with creative
Mm.
ideas and solutions, because I knew that in my professional world, it's around messaging and visual elements that really communicate with a purpose, right?
Mhm.
Whereas on the art side, it could be political, it could be self-serving. You might want to tell a story, but there's commonalities between the two. But for me, it was more around how could I sell a product? How can I inform you of something really important that's coming up? So just having those foundation in college and having an instructor in topography just really pushed me to be a strong designer today.
I love that, and definitely kudos to your instructors. I might adopt some of those lessons for myself working in higher ed because those are some really clever tricks and assignments that they gave you. So I'm taking notes. I'm taking notes.
Yeah.
And so, what kind of artwork do you collect in general? I know my partner and you also collect the same one of the artists that you we listed at the top of the episode and have a love for painting and other mediums. And so I'm wondering if you can give us a little visual as to how did this particular love that you have in collecting what you do started, and just generally, how do you curate that?
Yes. For me, it started when I moved to Brooklyn about 10 years ago. So I noticed that when I would go to like coffee shops and restaurants, how they would feature artists, I would always get excited about what I would see on the walls. And so one day I went to this one cafe here in Brooklyn, and they featured this one artist, and it had a marriage between street art and cubism. And I really fell in love with that particular piece. And so I asked the hostess like who the artist, and she gave me his, information, and I contacted him. And so when he told me how much the piece was, I was kind of shocked. But then I was like, okay, well, I really like the piece, so I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna get this piece at the time. So that was actually my foray in the world of collecting art, and didn't even realize that I was a collector at the time. I was just looking at it
Mm.
as I just love that piece of art, and I want to hang it up in my home. But in terms of like what I collect, I would say if you would actually were to look at the walls in my apartment, you would actually notice that everything is colorful and everything has faces and portraits. It has like a portrait type quality. And I actually have some pieces that are political too as well that are making a statement to as well. So if you were to look at one particular piece that I have, if you were to stare at long enough, it's almost like a window into your soul, and it has a lot of spiritual connotations to it. And
Mhm.
then I have another piece where you sort of see two people. It's called New Love. And when I saw it, it just made me think about, oh, one day I'm going to meet someone. I'm going to meet that person, and and it's just going to be amazing, and it's going to feel rosy and everything. And but when you look at the piece again, sometimes you can sort of think it could be male, it could be female, but you can sort of create your own narrative when you actually look at the two together and just sort of figure out, well, why are they embracing, right? So,
Mhm.
and then also another aspect of of me is that I'm also gay, and so you'll start to see a lot of references, in that sort of celebrates, an aspect of me being gay, but it
Mhm.
also celebrates me being a black gay male too as well. So I actually collect artists that tell that story too, and so I just sort of
Mm.
look at them as these colorful billboards into my world. And a lot of times I sit at home. I don't watch a lot of TV. I'll just sit and just look at the walls, and then sometimes I just get inspired. I get enamored and just emotional, just looking at some of these pieces. And in those pieces that are more political, it makes a strong statement. So I think about during a time when we had the murders of George Floyd and Breonna Taylor. There was one particular piece that I collected that made a strong statement, and so I wanted to keep that, bring that particular piece in my home, and actually sort of share that with people that would come and visit. And whenever they would see it, I was like, oh my goodness, this is just a strong message. I'm like, who is this person? And then when I showed them who the artist was and they sought to see more of the artist's work, they were just really just amazed by what they saw.
Mhm.
And then also in my own neighborhood, there's a lot, here in Bed-Stuy, there's one particular artist that you will see everywhere.
Mhm.
You may see this artist probably like on the street, on the sidewalks, on buildings. And then you may also see some of the works in like a flea market.
Mhm.
And I started noticing those references, those images, and I said, you know what? I would love to be able to have a piece like this in my home,
Yeah.
but I really love the fact that it was accessible, to people and accessible to people within my community, because that meant that I could go to a consignment shop, a thrift stop, or flea market and purchase this piece, and then later realize that this is an amazing artist that's doing some great work. And who knows that one day that particular piece could be worth a lot of money, if you're looking from
Mhm.
an economics standpoint. But
Mhm.
I would
Mhm.
say, as a whole, the story that you're going to see is just colorful joy, excitement, and just it sort of celebrates me. And I just sort of think what my sister said when she actually looked at she actually helped me hang my collection, and she said,
Oh,
she did. She was
beautiful.
great. She's great at hanging things.
Now you make me
I'm
want to
terrible.
invite myself to your apartment to see you
Absolutely,
but
absolutely.
to continue that thought though,
Uh-huh.
I'm curious, is your sense for what you enjoy looking at, is that evolving or has that stayed the same?
You know what? It still stays the same, but I said to myself, I want to challenge myself and pushing myself outside of more literal interpretations to be more figurative and abstract. And then also look at the 3D aspect of things too. So I want to challenge my eye a little bit more and sort of understand and maybe sort of think about how can I continue maybe some aspect of it in a different medium.
That's beautiful. And you mentioned that so your sister is hanging your work. So is she also kind of a curator? Or are you doing the curation?
You know what? I think she kinda did the curation more I really think about it, and she's actually a self-taught artist.
Really?
Yes, if you were to go into her home, she actually painted a self-portrait of herself that is probably, what, 7 feet by 9 feet?
Mhm.
I was surprised that she was that bold to actually paint a canvas that large. Because usually people start small and then
Mhm.
grow larger.
Mhm.
But growing up, my mom would take our artwork from grade school and hang it up in the hallway. And so if you
Oh,
saw her stuff, you would see like, oh, who is this? Who did this? And if you would see my stuff, it would be like shapes, colors laid on top of each other. So you can kind of get a sense of, oh, well, who is this artist? This artist is more abstract.
yeah.
This artist is more, is more of a storyteller, and you can sort of see a lot of references that you would connect with, in her pieces.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, so sometimes sometimes I get inspired by her that she can just pick up a paintbrush and a marker and just start going at it,
It's
just
beautiful that you
freehanding it.
That's beautiful that you share that, because it's always sometimes hard to create community within your family that you have this very passionate thing that you're interested in. But to move on a little bit, do you source information to learn about your art in general and or specific artists?
I've kind of referenced my background in art history when I was, when I was in college. So just having sort of a baseline understanding of the different art movements, periods, and artists sort of gave me a baseline understanding of what I'm looking at. But I think today I find it really more important to continue to learn so I can sort of understand how has it evolved and what is today's movement, as far as what artists are doing, and just
Mm-hmm.
keeping an eye on trends, because I think it starts to mark a moment in history
Mm-hmm.
so that years later people can sort of see what artists have been doing today, and then maybe references from my collection can also be a part of that storytelling too as well. So that's how I sort of look at it. But it's really important that I always constantly keep my eyes open. I go to art fairs, art shows, galleries. I even go to artist studios.
Mm-hmm.
I even go to collectors' homes, to have conversation dinners, things of that nature. Just talking about the thing that we love about art, and the stories that we've learned, that I've learned along the way.
That's lovely. And so, are you saying that the art history that you have foundationally learned in education, as well as supplemental resources that you're currently looking at now, does that inspire you to invest in certain artists over others? And what are you actually looking for, if you can be specific?
Sure. Okay. I would say for me, it's organic and it's
Okay.
emotional. So if I'm collecting for myself, I'm not trying to be objective. I want to buy what I love, what moves me. And if it moves me, then I'm ready to make the transaction occur because I would love for it to be a part of my collection and my story. So the things that I usually try to look for, I usually look at execution. How does the artist tell a story through their execution? And when I see complexity in it, the beauty and complexity, whether it's a simple brushstroke or even looking at the fibers on how they actually manipulate the fibers to look like an image of a person, I look at those things and I celebrate that because I know that it took the artist, or maybe not a lot of time, maybe it took the artist a lot of time just to build that image for me to be able to appreciate. And so I don't know what they went through to create that image. So for me, I typically like to look at execution is one of the things I look at. And then I'll also try to but when I go to shows and things of that nature, then usually I'll start to see some trends, patterns emerging from that. So, like for example, now I'm seeing a lot of things happening with fiber textiles within that space. And so I want to, continue to explore that because I'm seeing a lot of interesting things coming out in a lot of these different shows.
But that makes me ask though, when you go to, like, say you mentioned you would go to a dinner with other collectors, what is that dialogue like when you're talking about the work that is in your collection or you're thinking about collecting and engaging in that idea of investment in artists?
Yeah, so I would say the thing that we talk about is more around the story
Mm,
of the artist and what they're creating. The subject is something that we usually talk more about. So, like for example, if the artist is sort of talking about things that are happening today within our society, like how we might be marginalized, in certain areas, and so usually we start talking about that from a society standpoint, and then sometimes it turns political in a sense, and you start to see the duality between the two,
mhm.
in the conversation. And so, but then there's also the celebration where we're talking about how the artist was able to sort of capture the essence of that and portray it in a way that tells a meaningful story. And so I just kind of get goosebumps when we talk about those types of things. And then I might, we may talk about a brushstroke, right? Like, oh, I like that technique on what the artist has done here. And I noticed how the artist has evolved, into expanding the technique into something different. So maybe from it being flat, that it has some more dimension to it where it becomes a little bit more three-dimensional. So I like this. We talk about the evolution, of the artist too as well.
Beautiful.
Nice, nice.
I think that brings us right into thinking of the finances of it all. So, in regards to your collecting habits that you've developed, do
My
you have a
expensive habit.
yeah? Do you have a budget for art buying you stick to?
Oh my goodness. I've gotten better now. I've gotten better now. At first, it was very unwieldy because I told you I move based on emotion. So it's
Yeah.
almost like, hey, here's my credit card. Go charge it.
Oh no! Don't catch you on a good day, guys.
Exactly, exactly. So now I've had to start to put myself on a budget because it can become, as I mentioned, it is an expensive passion of mine. So if you don't have the necessary resources for it, I can see how it become unwieldy. So for me, what I ended up doing is I use a portion of my bonus from my job that says, okay, I'm gonna take 30% of that and I'm gonna use that to actually purchase art, for my collection. Because one of my motivational drivers is I want to be able to pass this collection over to my nieces and nephews. So
Aw,
that it also does generational
legacy.
wealth for them. It's very important. So when I go to museums and I see names on walls, why not set my niece up who wants to be an attorney one day? Put your name on the wall.
Mm.
You know, why not? Why not get your name in a history book, or why not be a part of a community of other collectors and people in the art world that really thrive off of it and want to continue, to see it, thrive, as a whole. So for me, that's one of my main driving forces. Because I
Mhm.
think about my father when he started his businesses, he wanted to pass his businesses over to us, and so now I understood why. Right?
Okay.
It sets the foundation for me. So for me,
Mhm.
passing that on is important. So that's why I set a portion of my budget because I also have other things that I want to do too as well that I invest in that are outside of art. So to diversify my portfolio, I want to make sure that I also include art as a part of that because it does increase that wealth, for me and for my family.
So it sounds as if you are whenever I guess you get that bonus that you want to put a part of it to, it goes to a pot, and once you have a certain amount, you have enough to buy a certain thing you got your eye on already, then it goes out to purchase that
Yes,
piece or those pieces. That kind of that's
yes, that's how it
okay.
works. Yeah, that's how it
Okay.
works. And another thing I'll also do too is now that I've established relationships with other collectors, then another avenue I would say is okay, well, if I can't afford to buy this piece, who else can I partner with that's willing to split the cost, of this particular piece?
Okay.
We both are investors. We can say, hey, I'll have it in my home 1 year, you have it in your home 1 year, or hey, let's go get
Hmm.
a warehouse or storage unit and actually store our collection and we can just go visit it. Why not? Or let's put it on
Collective
loan. Yeah, it's a collective.
collectorship. Oh my God, that is beautiful.
Hmm.
Oh my
Yeah,
God.
so that's
Okay.
really important.
That's eye-opening. Okay, so my next question will be, so like how often then are you collecting new works in like a year?
Oof. Oh my goodness. I think I've gotten up to now, what, 45 pieces? So this year
In
45
alone,
pieces a year.
no, 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 total now, 45 now.
Oh.
Oh,
Oh,
okay,
sorry,
okay.
sorry. In total, if I said
Okay,
45 a
so
year,
there's
I'm no
45
longer a small.
pieces, 45 pieces in your entire collection
I was
of
about to say
which
that
Yes,
is
yes.
quite a budget. That is quite a budget.
um, get me in there, I'm kidding. But
uh,
okay, so within this year, like
okay, within this year,
yeah.
right now, within this year, I think I have about 7 pieces that I've actually acquired, this year, and it ranges from different price ranges, and
Mhm.
some I'm actually still paying on, and some I actually already have. I've already purchased outright.
Mm.
So that's
Got
how I'm
it.
able to negotiate and work with the artists and galleries to be able to acquire these pieces, per year that are within my budget.
Mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. So you have to also know how much you're expecting from a contract to know what you can commit to with a gallery you're working with to make also these partial payments based on what you have allocated to that particular piece or the multiple pieces you have across the board of various galleries or maybe one gallery, something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's definitely like that. It's across different galleries. So I have structured payments with different galleries, different agreements with different galleries. I even have an art financing company that I work with that allows me to also acquire pieces. So that's another avenue. So I sort of ask myself, okay, what's the driving force behind this piece? How hot is the artist right now? If this is a pretty, it's like if you got to jump on it now, it's like, okay, well, what resource do I want to use? Do I either want to call a collector to go in with me on this? Do I want to call a finance company, put on a credit card, or do I want to use cash, from my budget, to actually, acquire that piece? So I try to find what are the right avenues that I want to, go in to actually
Mhm.
purchase.
Amazing. And lastly, in regards to finance, how do you store your art? You mentioned storage unit a little bit, but like is there like your collection? I know you have some in your home. You've already shared how beautiful it is. And is the excess then stored in a particular facility? You don't have to tell us where,
Sure.
but like is it special art handling? What does that look like? And the finances.
Okay. Okay. All right. So on the collecting piece, what I learned from one gallery is if you have more art than you have hanging space, you are truly a collector. I am that guy. So I have pieces in my office right now that are
Excuse
stacked up
me.
neatly over here to my right. And then and the larger pieces that I can't get up the stairs into my apartment, I
Lord
send
have
to my
mercy.
sister's house.
Oh God.
Wow.
I sent to her house, and she's like, "Hey, see the kitchen over there? I need a piece." She's like, "I'm coming to your house. I'm going shopping."
Excuse me.
So, so yeah, so that's what I do because when I look at her home, I'm like, "Oh, take that thing down from that company." Look, I said, "I know, I got you." I was like, "I got you, sis." And then I'll have I had one particular piece shipped directly to her home. And then so that's how I do it. So I send it to her house. I have pieces here. I even have some in my closet that I had to take
Lord.
off the canvas because they're just too big to even hang.
Oh,
And so I
wow.
have another avenue that I might explore is with a really close friend of mine that has the wall space to hang a 12-foot by 6-foot piece. So that's also another avenue. So you have to sort of be mindful of that. Why not have art circulate, throughout homes? Again, it's the awareness. Like even by me sending art to my sister's house, my nieces and nephew are exposed to it.
Yeah.
Right.
And then also it opens my sister's eyes up to the art world. So now she's looking at real art versus buying, art from, a retailer that was just mass produced. So I'd rather for you to take
Mm.
something to help support an artist, put food on their table. If I can do that, I'll certainly will do that. But eventually I would like to move into the container space, as I grow. But right now it's just here, my home, my sister house. That's really where the storage really occurs, those two places right now.
Awesome. And so as we
Oh, and I
close,
do have one
oh,
more. I also do have one more. I do have one more. I'm sorry. I have one
there's
more.
more.
Yes, there's one more. I also have relationship with another gallery where I'm actually purchase pieces, but they're hanging in hotels. Yeah. So I do also do that too. I have pieces that are on loan. So there's a loan agreement that I
Wow.
have in place. So at the end of every year, there's a residual that I actually will receive, as well as a rental agreement that I actually will receive payments on
Hmm.
that. So that's another way of collecting income for myself, but I also have beautiful art that I love being shared somewhere else.
You
Because I
blowing my
because I make
mind. You blowing my
yeah.
mind, Albert.
Yeah. I just realized that. I was like, "Oh, I forgot.
That is a
That
very,
dear
very
moment that I was
important
yeah.
thing that you
Yeah,
are also
important thing.
making money from your collection.
Yes,
Let me
yes.
tell my partner. Okay, and so as we close, what are you currently doing outside of this very, very vast expertise that you have developed both as a collector and a entrepreneur that is not paid labor, that is only for your leisure and enjoyment.
Yeah, so one of the things I enjoy doing is I enjoy mentoring just young creatives, just as a whole. Not too long ago, I went to an area high school within Bed-Stuy. I'm trying to remember how did they find me, and they said they reached out to me on Instagram, and I'm having a conversation with the teacher, and I'm next thing you know, I'm in the classroom talking to students who are interested in art, right? And so they're talking to a collector, a designer, and they're still giving off like a sponge. Like I'm saying, there's an audience. So I really enjoy supporting young artists because I think about when I was growing up, and when we talk about art, you're like, what? You want to be starving? No, absolutely not. So it's like, but now I said it's a career path. You can
Yes.
make money off of it, and there's data that proves that. So if
Hmm.
I can help educate the young artist or the young student that's already in school to help tell the story to their parents, why not help enable them with information so they can sort of see, oh wow, there's a person out there like me that one day I aspire to, be a collector or or to grow my career as an artist. Like I really appreciate, being able to pass that information over to the next generation of just talent that's just ready and it's exploding for just support.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Albert, for taking out the time to talk with us. You definitely opened up our eyes and exposed us to a myriad of different ways on how to navigate this art world, both as an artist and also giving us insight of what art collectors are looking for and how they handle art, and also just mentorship too, and professional mentorship too. I'm
Hmm.
now I'm going to be looking for art advisors to help me, but
Wink, wink,
but
wink, wink.
yeah.
Hey, I'm here.
Definitely, but we definitely want to give you your time. So, shameless plug, how can we follow you, and also what's next for you? Let us know.
All right. So what's next for me now? So Strategy Craft Design Agency is a newly formed agency as of this year. So I decided to go out on my own. So if you're looking for product design, whether it's a website, an app, or just to prove a business case, just reach out to me at info@strategycraft.design. Or if you just want to just connect with me socially, you can also connect with me on Instagram. It's going to be a little long one and it's kind of nerdy. It's AlbLab Instagram and it's spelled ALBLAB Instagram. So that's my handle. So you can reach out to me in those two methods and let's have a dialogue.
Wonderful. We'll drop it all in our description.
Okay.
All right. Thank you again, Albert.
Thank you for listening to our episode. The Hidden Critique is produced and hosted by us, Krystle Lemonias and Marlon Tobias. Episodes are edited by Kirsten Pettifor. Original music composed by Cesar Presa.
If you like the show, you can review and rate this podcast via Spotify. You can also like, subscribe, and comment on our YouTube page.
For exclusive bonus content, subscribe to our Patreon at The Hidden Critique.